Hi, my name is Dr. Heather Forkey. I'm a pediatrician and I'm the mom of 5 kids. I'm joined here by my good friend and colleague, Dr. Jessica Griffin.
Hi, I'm Jessica Griffin, and I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm also the mother of 3 children. And a lot of the things that Heather and I talk about are actually things that we experience as parents ourselves. And Heather, I know a question that's been coming in from a number of families is that they're not sure how to talk to their child when their child's upset. And they talk about how they want to try to solve their child's problems, but then the child just ends up even more upset and frustrated. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's so common, Jess. For us as parents, we really don't want our kids to go through bad things. We want to solve their problems for them. And that's a normal instinct. But the truth is that kids do need to have our support, especially when very bad things happen. They need to know that we're there for them, and we do need to do a lot of buffering. But there's a fair amount of experiences that kids need to have where they begin to manage it by themselves. Certainly, there are stressors that are just positive, things like playing in a baseball game or taking a final exam. There's also some stressors that are pretty challenging, but kids learn by trying and practicing. And that has to happen within the support of the relationships with us as their caregivers. What they're doing is they're building what's called efficacy, or the sense that they can control and manage experiences and make changes for themselves. We do this process as caregivers through what's called dyadic co-regulation. What that means is that in any learning process, kids do it with us where we do it first by ourselves, showing them. Then we do it with them. Then we help the child to do it themselves, and eventually they do it themselves. This will be familiar to you because as you've taught your children basic skills like picking up their toys or making their beds, this is how you did it. You did it for them, you did it with them, you guided them to do it, and then they did it on their own. As you taught them skills like breathing or relaxing, you probably did the same process. We need to remember that as kids go through tough things like negotiating a tough relationship or dealing with disappointment or dealing with some of the bad things that happen in the world today, that kids need to have us go through that same process where we manage it without them, but showing them how we manage it. Then we manage it with them. Then we coach them as they manage it, and then they manage it on their own. The trick, I think, is how we communicate that and talk to kids as we do this process. Jess, what are some of your suggestions for how we talk to kids that way?
Sure, Heather, great question. One skill I love to teach parents is a skill called reflective listening. And they actually teach us as therapists to do this with our own clients. And what reflective listening does is the person on the receiving end feels like you get me or you understand me. And it's a great tool we can use to better connect with our children. So, what we want to do is first pay attention to our child, making sure we're giving them eye contact and nodding. It's very different when I'm distracted by cooking dinner and checking my email when my child's trying to talk to me about something stressful. Let's say he came home from school and said, Billy was mean to me on the bus today, and I'm not really paying that full attention. I want to stop what I'm doing, give him that eye contact, and continue to pay attention while also remaining neutral. And that's really important. So if my child says something stressful happened to him on the bus, I want to avoid reacting right away. So if Billy was mean to you on the bus today, I don't want to jump on the phone right away and call Billy's mama or say, what did you do? I want to make sure I'm continuing to listen so I have all the information. So I'm actively listening to my child with that nodding and continuing to give that eye contact. Then I want to rephrase what they said back to them. So what it sounds like, honey, is Billy was really mean to you on the bus today, and it sounds like that was confusing or made you feel embarrassed or upset. Do I have that right? So we want to make sure we acknowledge the feeling behind what happened. Then we want to continue to listen, asking them, do I have that right? Or tell me more about that, making sure we're getting as much information from our child as we can. And then lastly, we're joining with our child in looking to solve the problem if it makes sense to do so. So we might say something like, it sounds like that was a really stressful situation for you today, but let's put our heads together and see if we can find out a solution to this problem. And so, Heather, it's a very simple technique, but very effective way to connect when we don't have all the answers, and it can help kids feel like they're better understood. The last thing I would say is if you have a concern that you don't feel like this technique or another one is going to address, or you're really struggling or your child's really struggling, to please reach out to your local pediatrician or mental health provider for additional support. Thanks so much for listening.